The sun dipped low behind the jagged mountains of Arcadia, casting long shadows over the war-torn planet. The once vibrant city of Eden stood in ruins, smoke billowing from the remnants of collapsed buildings. Humanity had been pushed to the edge, and the Council of Planets had turned its back on them. Captain Morgan Reed stood in front of a large holographic map in the war room, his fingers brushing across the interface as he scrolled through the most recent reports. His eyes were tired, dark circles marking the sleepless nights he had spent trying to hold things together. His crew, what remained of them, stood silently around him waiting for orders. Every day they fought, but the alien forces seemed to be getting stronger, and the Council's promise of reinforcements had never materialized. "They've abandoned us," Reed muttered, more to himself than to anyone else. His words echoed in the quiet room, carrying the weight of the truth. The Council had voted to cut off all support to humanity, leaving them to face an overwhelming alien army alone. "I know," Lieutenant Grace Hall replied, her voice steady despite the frustration she must have been feeling. Grace had been with Reed since the beginning, and she had always been his most trusted ally. "But we're not dead yet. We still have a chance." Reed glanced at her, his blue eyes hardening. He wanted to believe her, but the truth was sinking in. They were on their own. The Council had turned its back on them, and there was no one left to help. The holographic map flickered, showing the approaching alien fleet. It was massive, far larger than anything humanity could ever hope to combat. The enemy's ships were sleek, dark, and deadly. Their technology advanced beyond anything humanity had. But what they lacked was something the humans had in abundance: determination. "We fight or we die," Reed said, his voice growing stronger. "We don't give up." "Not yet." There was a collective murmur of agreement from the others in the room. The situation was dire, but humanity wasn't known for backing down, especially not when cornered. Reed turned away from the map and paced across the room. "Send a message to all remaining units. Tell them to hold their positions. No matter what happens, we fight. We've been abandoned by the Council, but we're not abandoning ourselves." His words were met with a mix of nods and grim faces. The soldiers knew that what he was asking of them wasn't just a battle for survival. It was a stand against the very forces that had promised to protect them and failed. But that was the nature of humanity, wasn't it? No matter how many times they were knocked down, they always rose again. Even when the odds were against them, they never gave up. Reed turned back to Grace. "Prepare the fleet. We make our stand here on our terms. No more running. No more waiting for help that will never come." Grace nodded. "Aye, Captain. We'll hold this planet or die trying." Reed's jaw tightened. There was no other choice. If they ran, the aliens would just follow them. If they stayed, they had a chance, however slim it was. But there was one thing he knew for certain. Humanity's resolve would not break. Later that day, Reed stood before a group of soldiers, his voice steady but filled with conviction. He wasn't sure if he was trying to inspire them or himself, but it didn't matter. What mattered was that they needed to believe just as he did. "We've been given a choice," Reed began. "We can die here, hiding in the shadows of the Council's failure, or we can stand and fight. This planet might be all we have left, but it's ours and we will protect it. We've been betrayed, but we don't bow to betrayal. We rise, we fight, and we take back what's ours." The soldiers cheered, their voices echoing across the ruined city. They weren't ready to surrender. Not yet. Not when they had a chance to fight back. As the sun set on the horizon, Reed looked up at the sky. His heart was heavy, but his mind was clear. He had no illusions about the battle ahead. It would be brutal and many would fall. But they had something the aliens didn't: the fire to keep going no matter how dark things got. The first wave of alien ships entered the atmosphere just before dawn. The fleet was massive, their weapons designed to wipe out entire cities in moments. Yet as Reed looked out over the battlefield, a strange sense of peace washed over him. This was it, the moment where humanity either made its stand or faded into oblivion. "We'll give them a fight they'll never forget," Reed whispered under his breath. The first shots rang out, tearing through the sky. It was the beginning of humanity's most desperate hour. The battle had begun, and it was up to them to prove that no matter how much they were abandoned, they would never stop fighting for their survival. The sky over Arcadia was dark with smoke, thick clouds hanging low above the battered city. The battle raged on, the hum of energy blasts and the roar of weapons filling the air. The humans had held their ground for hours, their weapons proving deadly against the alien forces. But despite their efforts, the enemy's strength seemed endless. Captain Morgan Reed stood in the command center, his gaze focused on the battlefield. The human forces were fighting with everything they had, but even their bravery couldn't hide the reality of the situation. The enemy was relentless, and the city was slowly crumbling under the weight of the attack. "We're losing ground, Captain," Lieutenant Grace Hall said, her voice strained but steady as she watched the battle unfold on the monitor. "They're overwhelming us. We can't hold out much longer." Reed clenched his fists, a surge of anger rising within him. The Council had promised them reinforcements, promised that they would not be left behind. But those promises had been empty. Now the humans were forced to face the alien onslaught alone. "They've underestimated us," Reed said, his voice low but filled with a fierce determination. "They think we're weak. They think we'll break. But they don't know what we're made of." Reed turned to the map projected before him. The alien fleet had surrounded the city, their ships dark and imposing. But within the chaos there was a glimmer of hope. The Flame, a mysterious ancient world, was not far from Arcadia. It was a place that had once been abandoned by the Council, but Reed had learned of its power through old records. There were stories of unimaginable technology hidden deep within the planet, a power that could shift the balance of the war. "Prepare the fleet," Reed ordered, his eyes burning with the need for action. "We're leaving." Grace gave him a puzzled look. "Leaving? Captain, we can't abandon the city. We're the last line of defense." Reed nodded grimly. "I know, but this battle is lost. Our only chance is to get to the Flame and harness whatever power is there. We can't win this with what we have now, but with that technology, we can change the tide." There was a long pause as the team considered his words. Reed knew it wasn't an easy decision, but there was no time for hesitation. If they stayed, they would be destroyed. If they left, they might have a chance to turn things around. "We'll make it work," Grace said finally, determination in her eyes. "I'll prep the ships." As Reed made his way to the hangar, his mind raced. The Flame was a gamble, but it was humanity's last hope. The journey would be dangerous, and they would be fighting an enemy on two fronts: the alien forces that pursued them, and the harsh, unknown world of the Flame itself. But Reed had seen what humanity could do when pushed to its limits. They would survive. They had to. The fleet took off under the cover of darkness, the ships cutting through the sky with all the power they could muster. Behind them, Arcadia burned. The humans had lost the city, but the fight was far from over. The journey to the Flame was slow, each ship fighting against the pull of gravity as they moved deeper into the unknown reaches of space. Reed stood on the bridge of the lead ship, his eyes focused on the stars ahead. The Flame was only a few hours away, but the journey felt endless. "Captain," Grace's voice crackled over the comms, "we've got company. The alien fleet has broken through our defenses. They're following us." Reed's grip tightened on the controls. The alien forces were relentless, and their pursuit was more than just a tactical decision. It was personal. The aliens wanted to ensure that humanity was wiped out once and for all. "We can't outrun them," Reed said, his voice low but determined. "We'll have to fight." The battle that followed was unlike anything the humans had faced before. The alien ships were faster and more advanced, their weapons capable of decimating entire fleets in seconds. But Reed's crew wasn't about to back down. They fought with everything they had, their ships darting and weaving through the blackness of space, firing back at the enemy with every ounce of strength they could muster. It was a brutal battle, but the humans fought with a desperation that only comes when you have nothing left to lose. They knew they couldn't win the fight, but they could delay the aliens long enough to reach the Flame. As they approached the mysterious planet, a strange energy field surrounded them. The Flame wasn't just a planet. It was a place of immense power, and the energy field was unlike anything Reed had ever encountered. It pulsed with raw force, a beacon that seemed to call out to them. "Prepare for landing," Reed commanded. "We don't know what's waiting for us down there, but we don't have a choice. We go in, we find the technology, and we fight back." The fleet descended through the atmosphere, the flames of re-entry lighting up the dark sky. As they neared the surface, the ground below revealed an ancient landscape, ruins of a once great civilization. The planet was harsh, its terrain rocky and unforgiving, but Reed's focus remained on the goal ahead. "We've got a lot of work to do," Grace said, her voice steady despite the tension in the air. But if this planet has what we think it does, we might just have a shot. Reed nodded. Let's make sure we take full advantage of it. Humanity's future depends on it. As the humans disembarked and ventured into the ruins of the flame, they couldn't shake the feeling that they were walking into the unknown. The ancient technology was buried deep beneath the planet's surface, and it would take every ounce of their skills to uncover it. The journey ahead would be difficult, but Reed knew one thing for certain. Humanity would not be defeated. Not by the aliens and not by the council that had abandoned them. The flame might be their last hope, but if anyone could turn the tide, it was the humans. And so they walked into the flames, into the heart of the unknown, determined to reclaim their future.